Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the Hawthorn preview. Yes, we've got another podcast. Shorty's slowly on the mend. We will have the D's up next and I will have my mug back on the screen. So some may like that, some may not. But the podcasts are just temporary. But they have been fun to throw back to, actually. I do enjoy just the more laid-back style of podcasts. So, yeah, but we will delve into the Hawks. And as I've also mentioned a few times, the Instagram page, have a look onto Shorty's _Supercoach on Insta. And I do the occasional story there, and we'll certainly look to amp that up once pre-season gets going, a bit more footy news and a bit more practice matches and things like that. But with the Hawthorn Footy Club, in terms of their lock, was a bit of a tough one. In fact, quite a few of these were a little toughish. I feel like the Hawks don't have a stack of relevant fantasy players, but certainly not lockable. And look, I only have one in my side at the moment, if I recall, and that's James Sicily. Now, some may not see him as a lock, but I definitely feel that he has the ability to go three figures. And with a couple of list changes at the Hawks, I think we'll see his average go up 5 to 7 points for sure. Averaged 93.8 last year, puts him at 509k. But last year we definitely saw him used up forward occasionally. You know, when there was just the need to shake things up, he was thrown into attack at times, whether that be for a half, a quarter. Definitely affected his scoring at times. And we all know he's a great intercepting defender. And when he plays that role, he's a very good scorer. So I've got him locked in my side. I think he shows a real bit of value, but also a guy who I think is a genuine premium. Now, the risk is an interesting one, and it's Tom Mitchell. Now, clearly, it's the body. Now, obviously, quite a horrific injury, and he is making his way back, but it is slow steps. There have been quite a few articles about Tom and how the recovery has been good without being great. You know, coming back from something like that is always going to have its challenges, and it's really challenged him at times from what I can read and listen to. So he's priced at 630k, which is still mighty expensive. The fact is he's still pushing for round one, and it sounds like it's likely, but things still need to go to plan for him to play round one, and that's sort of alarm bells for me straight up. I think if we're picking Mitchell at that sort of a price, we need him to be a premium, clearly. You know, he's virtually got minimal discount. I know he was up around the 700k mark at his absolute prime, but that's still a hell of a lot of dollars, and we know what he's capable of, but I think a lot of us would have been much more tempted at a slightly lower price. And the fact is, I think if he may well come out and play some preseason games and talk us all into it, but I'd be very surprised if I start him. I'd just like a few of my other premium options, and just a bit concerned about not only him getting to round one in full fitness, but, you know, how this major injury does affect his footy. He'll still be a gun. He'll still play some ripping games, but can he reach that level again? We're just going to have to wait and see. Always risky when players come off such major injuries, I think. In terms of a breakout contender, and also a bit of an interesting one, is Chad Wingard. Now, Wingard, of course, has played some great footy throughout his career. I mean, second season, he averaged a touch under 99. Extremely impressive. And I think from there, we all thought, well, this kid's going to be a superstar. He's going to be in our SuperCoach sides for some time. But he's proved to be quite a tease, and I've been on the end of it at times. I've certainly been burnt by Chad. I think the want for him to go through the middle has been there for a number of years, but the fact that he's quite a dangerous forward, and, you know, just using him where he's most dangerous, has sort of seen him play as more of a forward line player, which, as we know, isn't always the best thing for our scoring players, because you're away from the ball. You know, you're relying on your team playing a bit better. You're relying on a bit better delivery. You can go a bit cold in attack. And as we always like to see, if we can get a lot of forwards, particularly, that do play through the middle, that's ideal. And I think there's a genuine chance that Wingard will play that sort of a role. Again, I've talked about Tom Mitchell. I think Mitchell will definitely affect Wingard's role. We saw Chad late last year play quite a bit of midfield time, and we saw snippets of him at Port Adelaide doing that too. And I think that was when we saw some really great football from him, because he's great through traffic. He's a dynamic player. He's got a good step, sell a bit of candy, pretty good skills. So if I was, coaching him, I'd certainly be attempting to find a way to play him through the middle. But as we see with, your De Goeys, Petrarcas, Heaney's, these types of guys who are sort of medium-sized but good overhead, dangerous players, you feel like they can play both position, but because it's tougher to find those sort of smalls in attack, they tend to play forward. But a couple of numbers, Wingard's 412k, obviously had his struggles, particularly in the first half of last season. But after round 18, where he did play much more midfield, he averaged 87.2. That included the last round, where he only scored 62, but he had 28 touches. He had, I think, about 6 clangers, so obviously didn't use the ball well. But that 87.2 isn't great, but there were some good numbers in there, and there were some really good signs. Now, I think we're going to need a little bit more convincing through the pre-season if we're going to jump onto Wingard. But the fact is, we know that he can score really, really well, and 90 plus is very, very capable for him. He's a very talented man, and perhaps now he's just finally found his feet at the Hawks. Will he get squeezed out of the engine room with Mitchell returning? We'll have to wait and see, but definitely monitor him through the pre-season. At the very least, I think he could be quite a handy pick-up in your draft leagues. Definitely worth considering. And the bloke who's no chance for my side is James Worpel. Now, he was obviously outstanding last season. I had him in draft. He was a great draft pick, and he was fantastic late too. He was an absolute beneficiary of Tom Mitchell's absence. I think there was a lot of talk about him pre-season, whether he could fill that void, and he really did. And he warmed into the role. I think early on he was a picture of consistency without really having a ceiling. He probably had a lot of 80 to 95 games, occasionally bursting through the 3-figure mark. But towards the end of the season, he was massive. Had a couple of 140s, I think, 120 plus score. He was really, really good. But unfortunately, he loses that forward eligibility, and he's priced at 527k. Obviously, averaged really impressive 97 last year, boosted his average from 72.9 the year before. So that's a genuine breakout contender that we talk about and what we're searching for. He was it last year. But this year, it's just not going to happen. I think he'll be a very good scorer, but the fact is we're not going to see him boost that average too much more. And with the return of Mitchell, it's hard to see him, getting the same opportunity. He'll still get plenty, but the main factor is he's not dual position now, so we're really not going to have a look at him. So it's always funny how blokes can be so relevant one year, and as soon as they lose that dual position, see you later. We just don't give them any more of a thought. But I think he'll be a bloke that we pick down the track for sure. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate you getting around these previews. As I said, we'll have the Ds up next, and we're starting to really get through these club-by-club previews. I'm looking forward to sort of smashing these out, certainly before the end of Jan, and then getting into some other stuff, player profiles, and definitely through February and that, we can really start to get those practice games going and hone in on our structures and things like that. So appreciate the support. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. Give me any ideas or any feedback, any players that I may have missed. I always enjoy reading that. So I'll catch you soon. Cheers.